Okay, so fresh off Manny Pacquiao making his return for the WBC welterweight title against Mario Barrios, arguably Manny Pacquiao was robbed. Now, the fight was decided to be a majority draw. Now, I really struggle to see it as a draw, in my opinion. I think Pacquiao deservedly won that fight. He boxed when he needed to box. He took shots. You know, Pacquiao's no defensive mastermind. Like Barrios was able to land on him, he was able to find him, but Manny Pacquiao, when he needed to be, was first to the punch. He was initiating. He was falling it at times, but I think you're going to get that from a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao. He's not going to be able to go in and out for 12 rounds the same way you could 10 years ago, 15 years ago even. Right? That's not going to be able to happen. So at times you are going to see Pacquiao get more tired and he's going to be falling in and getting a bit sloppy. And he was definitely, I mean, the criticism of Manny Pacquiao in this fight is a criticism you could have of his entire career is, I mean, particularly the later half of his career when he's not able to exit as quick as he could when he was in his prime, and he's sticking around, he's throwing his combos and he's sticking around in the pocket for just a step, two steps longer than he needs to be. And when you're fighting at still the high level, these guys are going to catch you in the pocket when a younger Manny Pacquiao would have been out of range by then. But the old Manny Pacquiao was still there and still there to be hit. And of course, he's slower and you're older, so you can't take the same shots you could when you're younger, right? Not that Pacquiao was necessarily blessed to have an amazing chin, like he's been stopped before. But Barrios didn't look up for it at all. And like I was saying in the preview to this fight, in terms of the world champions at welterweight, Barrios is by far the most beatable. He's been beaten before, stopped by a 130-pound fighter, I mean, Gervonta Davis. Really? You know, Gervonta Davis is a big puncher at any of these weight divisions, at any of these lower weight divisions, but he was really a 135er. Sorry, I said 140. Really a 135er, right? Who stopped Barrios. To be fair, Pacquiao at no point was close to stopping Barrios in this fight. But like I said, Pacquiao was, for the most part, you know, when he wanted to initiate the exchanges, Pacquiao would be the first to punch. That being said, Barrios had his moments, and Barrios showed that he's still... Not still, he's only a young boxer, to be fair. Let's say still, like he's a veteran, but he's a young boxer, and he showed that he's got something in the tank, but honestly, a 28-year-old versus a 46-year-old, come on. You know, Barrios has got to be doing better than that. He's got to be imposing his will more. From early on in the fight, Barrios felt like he was just too comfortable. And I don't say that in a good way. I mean in a way where he felt like he could almost chill and grow into the fight and maybe start to counter Manny. And at times he did, but he wasn't doing it enough to win the fight, in my opinion. Like, he was countering Manny and at times was setting the pace, but this was honestly a Pacquiao that was more like the Pacquiao that fought Keith Thurman than the one that fought your Dennis Ugas. Right? Against Keith Thurman, of course, Pacquiao dropped Thurman early, and I think that impacted the entire fight, and Pacquiao never got close to hurting Barrios like that. But what I really mean is, throughout the back end of that fight, Pacquiao wasn't just going balls to the wall for 3 minutes. You know, he knew that he's a 40-year-old man, he can't do that anymore. So he, you know, used his boxing IQ, used his ring craft, and then would just box in moments, right? And Pacquiao was very good at that in this match. Good at boxing in moments and stealing rounds, right? And that resulted in a lot of swing rounds in this fight, which is probably what's resulted in the draw, because the way Manny was boxing in moments and not going out there and just shutting out Barrios, which I don't think he's able to do at this point of his career. I don't think he's able to just straight up shut out world level guys. If Pacquiao's going to win or get a result or for it to be competitive, this is how it's going to be. He's going to box in moments, right? Honestly, maybe I'm biased. Like I said, going into this fight, I was saying to Evan, you know, the closer we got to the fight, the more I was like, damn, Pacquiao's got a chance here, man. It's Manny Pacquiao. He's got a chance. And maybe I'm biased because I didn't pick him though. But I was leaning towards him. You know, I was leaning towards him, but I didn't pick him. But maybe I'm biased. Maybe I think Manny should have won because I'm biased. But yeah, we'll see what's next for both guys. I'm imagining a rematch is next because that's typically what happens when you get a draw. I don't imagine Manny will be having a super quick turnaround because he's 46 and doing those 12-round camps. And they're not for the weak of heart, especially at 46, right? But no doubt, I think a rematch will be next for both guys. But I think it's just probably a matter of when. But yeah, I'd be curious to know what you think of the fight. How did you score it? Honestly, I scored it similar to how your Dennis Ugas v Pacquiao was, how it scored for Ugas. Actually, I don't know. Let me take that back. I don't know about that because, like I said, Ugas was sort of outclassing Manny at times and really was just not giving Manny very much respect and was just standing and moving about and landing at will towards the back end of that fight. Whereas that wasn't really the case in this fight. But Pacquiao, like I said, done a very good job at boxing in moments and boxing the way I would assume a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao would box. You know, still showed speed, still showed some IQ, still showed some ring craft, but ultimately his defensive awareness isn't going to be at its peak anymore, and his power's not going to be at its peak anymore. But still a formidable fighter, and I think he edged the decision in my opinion. It didn't go that way, like I said, it was a draw. But we'll see what's next for both guys. And does really kind of go to show how beatable of a world champion Barrios is. And honestly, you're losing to a guy who's nearly 2 decades older than you. The guy's been knocked out many times, been beaten many times, hasn't been training. I mean, he has been training for this fight, but his last fight was with Dennis Ugas. That was, 3 or 4 years ago at this point? Come on, man. But yeah. I'd be curious to know what you guys thought of the fight, though. Did you think Pacquiao won, or do you think Barrios deserved the win? Or do you think the judges got it right? Do you think it was a draw? Be curious to know what you guys think in the comments below. But yeah, another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.